As of 27th of March, the United States of America has more confirmed cases of COVID-19 than China. The US has exceeded 80,000 cases and officially became number one in the world. According to the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, if the US doesn't gain control over this pandemic, there will be not enough beds and ventilators for the patients of COVID-19 as soon as the second week of April. And experts say this might result in over 80,000 deaths just in the US within the next few months. That would be horrible, and we need to come together to not let it happen. Let's all look at this objectively and ask, why does the United States have so many cases, and what can we all do to fight this pandemic? Over the past few weeks, Donald Trump has been consistently downplaying the pandemic.
We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue.
But why? Some may say it's because of the president's arrogance or even ignorance. But I think it's because of the economy. Because there is no vaccine for the coronavirus recession.
If we lose those companies, we're talking about millions of jobs.
See, coronavirus not only kills the people, but also the country's money. Last week, we saw the biggest jump in unemployment rate in history. This graph shows how big it is just in the United States. Many economists say that COVID-19 is the beginning of a massive spike in unemployment that could result in over 40 million Americans losing their jobs by mid-April. And if 40 million Americans don't have jobs, the panic will rise, the poverty will rise, the crime will rise, and the cases will rise, because many people will end up on the streets protesting and fighting each other. Donald Trump and his advisors may know it very well, and that's why from the very beginning, to not spread more panic, they've been downplaying the situation. Unfortunately, this downplay strategy was a mistake and a warning to the rest of the world. As the US leads in the amount of confirmed cases, the economy will be much harder to save, and because of the late response to the virus, there are way more cases in the US than if the measures were put in place earlier, like in Singapore, for example. Now, the whole US has to adapt. The response has to be extreme, and all of us need to take it as an example for April. As the danger grows, right now many people target their anger at Donald Trump, at China, or even at each other. Racism grows, hate grows, panic grows. Day by day, the world is becoming more negative and hateful. It became divided into two groups of people, with Group 1 who underestimated the coronavirus and Group 2 who were scared of it from the very beginning. But please, being divided into two groups will not help us. Let's not focus on the past mistakes, but better on the future solutions. We can fight the virus following the steps that the World Health Organization suggests us. We can win against it with the right awareness. Because unfortunately, there are still people who don't take COVID-19 seriously enough. People who treat it as a joke.
Coronavirus challenge.
People who don't want to stay at home when doctors tell them to do so. There are still countries who downplay this pandemic. Like Bangladesh, which just a few days ago had mass prayers with 25,000 people staying right next to each other. This is dangerous not only to Bangladesh but also to the world. If we don't find a way to unite and understand how serious it is, if we keep on fighting each other, we will all be at equal risk no matter who we are or where we are. Because this virus doesn't care where you're from, what your race is, or how good your country's economy is. Coronavirus only cares to make us sick, but not sick of each other.